What up? Tyler here, Tarver Academy, and I'm going to show you how to do some math. All right, so we're talking about adding real numbers. So before we do that, we need to understand some essential properties that kind of allow us to add real numbers. If you remember, a real number is pretty much any number you'll use, unless you're talking about like I. I is like an imaginary number, so it doesn't exist. Real numbers are pretty much anything you can make into a fraction, like a over b, or anything that you put in and then just keeps going forever. So like 0.3 repeating. It never stops. Or pi, that's an irrational number. Rational, irrational, it's all real numbers. So pretty much for the purposes of this class, you'll always know that you're dealing with real numbers, okay? Very seldom in Algebra 1 will you get into, imaginary numbers. That's Algebra 2 business. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of those properties. All right, the first one is the identity property of addition. I put a plus sign that means addition, okay? So here it is. Identity property of addition just means n, which can be any real number, plus 0 is going to equal itself. And you're like, oh, no joke, man. Everybody knows that. Yeah, they do, because of this property. All right, that's why they know it, because this property makes that true. All right, additive inverse. Additive inverse. That means that add means plus sign, inverse means opposite, okay? Pretty much. So whenever you have like 5, okay? If you want to talk about the additive inverse, that means that you want to add something to it, and we want it to be the opposite of that. So I want it to equal 0 when I'm done. All right? So think to yourself, what's a number that's the opposite of 5? 7? No. 4? No. A billion? Close. Not close at all. Okay? The opposite of 5 would be -5. Okay? So plus -5. All right? Because it's like, picture if you're digging a hole, and you got your shovel, and you dig down 5 feet deep. You dig down 5 feet deep. All right? And then you got it, you stand in, you're like, oh, it's 5 feet deep. You get out, and then you fill it up with 5 feet worth of dirt. Where is it going to be? Back to ground level. Okay? So the further you dig down, if you dig that same amount back up, it's even. So it's just the same as if you go forward 10 yards, but then you take away 10 yards. You're back at 0. Okay? So that's what the additive inverse gets at. No matter which way you go, when it equals 0, it's just going to be sticking a negative in front of one and making the other one positive, and then adding them together. Okay? Just don't mix it up, put like a minus sign in there, because then it'd be minus, turns into a positive, and that'd be 10. That'd be way wrong, right? I don't know. All right, now the additive inverse just means like, oh, what is the additive inverse? It's whatever the opposite is. The actual property that I showed you here, like n plus -n equals 0, that property that makes that true, that's called the inverse property of addition, okay? That means that you're using addition, you're using additive, inverse, it all makes sense, right? You're going to need to hear this once, and you probably won't ever have to use it again, so sorry for having to learn it now. Okay, so I want to talk to you about number lines, all right? A lot of times in math, they're like, oh, what should we name this thing? Well, what's happening? It's got numbers, it's got a line. It's called number line. It's like Mitch Hedberg talks about if whenever the guy that named like kitchen appliances, he's like, what does that thing do? Refrigerate? Well, it's called a refrigerator. What does that thing do? Toasts. It's called a toaster. Just add ER to the end of everything. Math people were just like, hey, let's just stick the two words together of what's happening. Okay, so you've got number lines. You've got a line with numbers on it. Okay? Now, you can manipulate your number lines based on what numbers are going to fit your problem. So like this line goes on forever, and you can just keep going up until you get to like infinity-binity. That's not a real thing. And you go in all the way, and it crosses over into the negatives, as you can see from here. Like positive numbers going into debt. You know what I mean? All right, so let's look at a few cases of a number line. I just erased that. I was so excited. Okay, first one. Let's do this one. 2 plus 6, okay? If we're building the answer of this around a number line, we would start with that first one. So it'd be 2. So I'm going to stick my little dot at 2, okay? Now I'm doing plus 6. That means I want to go up 6. Like this way is more. It's like when you're reading a book, you go to the right when you read. So remember, that's the way you want to go. That's the positive area. So we're going to go over 6 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 8 is our answer because that's where we landed. So we have 2 plus 6. All right? Easy enough. Let's check this one. 4 plus negative 2. So I'm going to start at 4. Now, I'm adding. You're thinking, oh, I'm adding so it'll go up. But I'm adding a negative. Okay? So that means I'm actually going to go back. I'm going to take those away. Essentially, that's like that negative overrides that positive when they're next to each other. It's like evil overcoming good, which isn't great, but it's kind of what we got here. All right, so we go 4, and then when you got to go back 2. So I'm going to go back 2, and my answer is a positive 2, and that's my answer. So if you type it in your calculator, you'll get that answer. Okay, so let's try this last one. Negative 6 plus negative 3. So we got negative 6 where I want to start, and I want to go plus negative 3. So I want to go back 3. Okay, a lot of times these number lines wig people out because you see it gets higher there, but then it gets lower here. So it feels like, oh, I'm getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's actually a smaller number because you're going further away from going up. Okay, does that make sense? It's like if you're like in a golf tournament and you keep like scoring worse and worse, you're getting away from. That's a bad example because like the higher numbers. I'm sorry. Okay, ignore that. All right, so negative 6. I'm going to go back 3. 1, 2, 3. My answer is negative 9. That's a number line, ladies and gentlemen. That's a number line. Okay, guys, let's talk about adding numbers. Let's go. Let's go. Okay, so we're talking about adding numbers, and I've got a few different examples here for you. Okay, so the first one is 7 plus negative 4. All right, if it was just this, like if you just had the parentheses, you'd be multiplying, but we don't. We got a plus sign. What's up? All right. So whenever you're adding, if you're adding two numbers together, and you've got a positive and a negative, and you get an answer, I'm going to kind of tell you how to quickly glance and see like, oh, that's way off, or I think I did something right. So if you've got a number that's a positive, a number that's a negative, whichever one is bigger, that's the sign or the positive slash negative that your answer will be. So for instance, if you've got like 5 and negative 20, which one's a bigger number? Just like in general, if you're looking at, not looking at signs, which one's bigger? The 20. So whatever sign's attached to that is going to be the sign that's on your final answer. So if you got 5 and negative 20, your answer is going to be a negative. If you got negative 103, your answer is going to be a negative because the negative is a bigger number. So keep that in mind as we work these, all right? So 7 plus negative 4. Which one's bigger? This little guy, the 7. 7's a positive, so I know my answer is going to be positive. So I worked it and I get a negative number. I did something wrong, okay? So we got 7 plus negative 4, which is essentially 7 minus 4. Because remember, if you've got a plus and a minus butted up like that, that negative is going to destroy that positive, okay? So 7 plus negative 4 is 3. Because I've got my 7 and I'm taking 4 away from it, all right? Let's check this one out. Negative 12 plus 5. Which one's bigger? 12. 12 is a bigger number than 5. What's the sign in front of 12? Negative. I know my answer is going to be negative, okay? So I do negative 12 plus 5. So it's like if you were looking at the number line, I got negative 12. It's like I'm trying to get like my head above water. I'm trying to get to 0, but I can't get all the way there. So I can only go over 5. So it'd be negative 12 plus 5, which is negative 7, okay? Next, we got 26.2 plus 7.1. They're both positives. So when I add them together, they're going to be a bigger positive, okay? I'm going forward, and I just keep going forward, okay? So I would add these on the left of the decimal, I add them together first. So 26 plus 7 is 33. Put my decimal in, and then 2 plus 1 is 3, okay? Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Magic and butter. Okay, so negative 8 plus negative 1. Now, you're thinking, well, which one? The 8's bigger, so it's going to be a negative. Yeah, but look at this. I've got a negative and a negative. And I'm adding them together. So it's like I've got this negative amount, and then I'm going to become even more negative. It's like in a movie when like the bad guy stuff is like building or whatever. I don't know. And Batman comes to save us. Batman. You just get a bigger negative. So it's going to be a negative because that's our bigger one. And then it's actually got a negative 8, and then I'm going to go back 1, like away from up. So it'll be a negative 9. Okay, so my number went up. Like as far as like straight up numbers go, your absolute value of it, but then I know it's going to be a negative. So a lot of times what people will do is they'll, whenever they get situations like this, where it's both the same sign, they'll absolute value it. So they'll just do 8 plus 1. Oh, that's 9. But I know it's going to be a negative because that's my bigger number. So that's adding numbers, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. That was kind of came in there hot. Sorry about that. All right, so we're talking about evaluating expressions, okay? Evaluating just means like looking at something and getting a conclusion out of it. Sometimes you get an answer. Sometimes you simplify. It's just you're evaluating it and you're trying to break it down to its simplest form, okay? And an expression is just like a math equation written out. So, like I said, math people just kind of like took the words of what was going on and put them together and made that the terminology, okay? Evaluate for m equals negative 3.1. That means it wants you to work these equations, either simplifying them or solving them, when you know that m equals negative 3.1. This is a common equation you'll see in algebra. Okay, so I'm going to circle that because it's important. An equal sign means they're the same. Okay, it's like a direct substitute. So it's like when your teacher's out, they put a substitute in their place. Maybe they're watching this today. What? Inception. Oh, that's not the way that works. So what that means is that we can take anywhere an m is, and we can take it out and put a negative 3.1 in its place because they are the exact same thing. It means it's like an IOU. It's like the exact same amount is what it's worth. So right here we've got 8.6 plus m. I can take wherever the m is. Don't garbage up that sign, okay? That sign stays where it is. Just the m. So I've got to rewrite it, 8.6 plus, and I like to keep things in line, m. m equals negative 3.1. That means wherever m is, I can put negative 3.1. Now I can solve it. 8.6 plus negative 3.1, which we know those cancel over, and it's 8.6 minus 3.1. So it's going to take some of that down. 8 minus 3 is 5. Put my decimal. 6 minus 1 is 5. So that's my answer. Moving on. Negative 3 plus m. I take where the m is. I replace it with exactly negative 3.1. So plus negative 3.1. Okay, I've got two negatives here. So I've got a negative, I'm subtracting more from it. So I've already got debt, and I'm getting more debt. All right, I'm taking it out. So negative 3, deeper into the negative zone, 3.1. So it'd be negative 6.1. Because I'm essentially adding those two numbers together and then making it a negative. Because it's just building on each other. It's not like they're crossing up, like if you were adding a positive and a negative. Then we get m plus negative 2. Take my m, put in negative 3.1 plus negative 2. Again, I've got the same situation. I've got two negatives, so I know it's just going to be building on it. So essentially I'm adding those two negatives together, but keeping them negatives. All right, so I can just do 3.1 plus 2, which is 5.1, and then just putting the negative in front, because I just built up that bigger negative. Okay? That's how you evaluate expressions, my friends. What up? Tyler here, and I want to show you what a matrix is. All right? A matrix, well, one, it's a phenomenal series starring Keanu Reeves, but you're too young to see. Don't go watch that. We want to talk about what a matrix is in math. Okay? The matrix, like picture, like you're thinking like, oh, it's the Matrix, watching the Matrix if you've ever seen it, which you shouldn't because it's for older people. But it's like whenever he sees the code, it's just like a bunch of numbers falling in a line. A matrix is essentially rows and columns of numbers put into like a bracket, okay? So it's going to be some sort of rectangle or square when you line up all of those. Like you don't write, this is a matrix, it's a circle, and we're going to do like 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 0. It's in the shape of a circle. That's not how matrices work. Don't even get in my house with that. Just run. I got so aggravated I dropped my eraser. I forgot what an eraser was. See? It's crazy. Okay, so that's what a matrix is. It's just a way of grouping up numbers in like inside brackets. That's it. That's a matrix. Okay, so I want to show you what an element is. You hopefully at this point know that this is a matrix. It's a bunch of numbers put into like a rectangular square and closed in brackets. An element is what each individual number is called. So like this right here, that's an element. This right here, that's an element. Element. I don't know what I did. Okay, so that's what an element is. So whenever you hear your teacher saying something like, we're going to be doing matrices today. What element is in the upper right-hand corner? And then Billy will be like, oh, no, I wasn't paying attention. Billy, you're always doing that kind of stuff. Let's talk about some adding matrices action. Am I right? Okay. So first off, I want to remind you that whenever you're looking at a matrix, the way you label it is the number of rows by the number of columns. Okay, so let's look at our amount of rows. Okay, rows are going across. And the best way to remember what a row is, that it goes horizontal, is by remembering that a column's up and down, because that's the easier one to remember. A column, like when it holds something up in a house, you know it's up and down. That's what a column is. So just remember the other one is the row. I mean, I'm older and I do a lot of math, and I still gotta like sit and think about that just so I don't like get mixed up. So let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3 rows times our amount of columns, which is just one column. So this is a 3 by 1 matrix, okay? Now, in order to add or subtract this matrix, I have to have another 3 by 1 matrix. You cannot add or subtract matrices that have different rows and columns matchups. Okay, so like if there was another column here, I couldn't do this because you just can't do it. You just can't, okay? So let's actually add them together. All right, if you see my other video, you know that each one of these numbers is called an element. So we've got 6 elements here total. All right, what I want to do is I want to match up the elements that are in the corresponding spots and then do whatever the sign is, which here it's addition. So I'm going to take the top element, 2, plus the other top element, which is 0, okay? Now I'm going to put my final answer in the exact same 3 by 1 bracket, okay? So your final answer when you add or subtract is going to be the exact same row and column matchup. When you multiply, it mixes up, but we're not talking about that, are we? So 2 plus 0 is 2. Next we do the second one. 3 plus 4 equals, I'm going to put it right there. 3 plus 4 equals 7. All right, and then we'll do our last one, the bottom one, -1, plus the bottom, which is 2. -1 plus 2 is +1. So this would be my answer to that problem. So again, is this a 3 rows by 1 column? Yes, sir. All right, so we're good. Now I'm going to show you let's show you a little bit heftier one, and then we'll move on. Okay, let's do 2, 3, 6, 0, -1, -3, 8, 1, 1. All right, so we've got a 3 rows, 1, 2, 3, didn't mean to mark that out, by columns, 1, 2, 3. So a 3 by 3. Let's add that to another 3 by 3. I'm gonna run out of room in this mug. Am I still on the camera? Tell me, so yeah, that'll work, we'll keep it. Okay, so let's do 4, 1, 6, 8, 8, -2, -6, 5, and 0. Okay, here we go. So the important thing here is to stay organized, okay? And me, if it's your paper, you're writing on it, mark stuff out. That's what I always recommend. Use your paper for you, okay? You ain't gonna get crazy and black the whole thing out like it's in Eclipse, but we're gonna start at the top corner, top left corner. Circle it. I'm gonna circle my sign, which is plus, upper left, and I'm gonna add them together. 2 plus 4, and then that goes in the upper left, which is 6, okay? What I recommend, you can either keep it circled and know that you did it. I like to mark it out, okay? Let's just move all the way across the top. -1 plus 1, okay? It's 1 to the right of that, so I don't have to picture the whole thing. I just know, okay, just put it 1 to the right of what you just did. Okay, Tyler. -1 plus 1 is 0. Mark it out. 1 plus 6, the upper right, 1 plus 6 is 7. Okay, now I've done my top row. Now I'm just gonna move down and stay in order. Don't get ahead of myself, don't get crazy. There's a lot of numbers floating around out here. That's why organization is so important. 3, I'm in the far left. 3 plus far left, 0 is 3. Cancel those out. Middle, exact middle. It's the best part of the Eggo, by the way. If you like eat Eggos, you just like eat around the outside. That middle part makes the whole thing worth it. Go Eggos, all right? This is sponsored by Eggos, by the way. That's not true. 0 plus 8 is 8. And then we're gonna go far right in the middle. 8 plus -6 is +2. Bottom row, far left. 6 plus 8 is 14. Ooh, getting big numbers. Big money. Big money. Cash and big money. That's not a thing people say. 1 plus -2. We're in the bottom middle. 1 plus -2 is -1. Last one's -3 plus 5 is +2. And you have your answers, ladies and gentlemen. We have a 3 row by 3 column money. Don't know why I got so excited. Matrix. It's the matrix. It does that to me. We're adding matrices, people. you can guess what subtracting matrices looks like, but we ain't there yet. Oh, hey, it's me, Michael Jordan, Shoemaker. I want you to know that if you don't click that little circle there to subscribe, then you won't ever find your true love. That's a fact. It's like an email chain letter. If you're not 45 years old, you will not get that joke. Not important. But click that. Anyways, I'll wait.